Soft doesn't mean stupid. And I think some girls need to hear that, because somewhere along the way, a lot of women got tricked into believing that if you're kind, patient, forgiving, emotional, gentle, or loving, people will automatically see you as weak. Maybe you've even felt yourself hardening lately. Maybe you've caught yourself wanting to care less, trust less, feel less, because you're tired of being underestimated. And I get it, but here's what I've learned. Softness and intelligence are not opposites. In fact, some of the smartest women I've ever met are incredibly soft. Not because they're naive, not because they don't understand people, because they understand people so well. I used to think strength looked loud. I thought powerful women always had a comeback ready. I thought the smartest girl in the room was the one who never got attached, never showed emotion, never let anyone know what she was thinking. Then I started paying attention to women who actually had the kind of lives I admired. Women with strong relationships, strong boundaries, strong self-esteem. And you know what I noticed? They weren't hard. They weren't cold. They weren't constantly proving how unbothered they were. They were warm, present, open. They just weren't available for nonsense. Huge difference, because softness is not the absence of boundaries. Softness is the absence of bitterness. And I think that's something a lot of people miss. Anybody can become cynical after getting hurt. Anybody can become suspicious after being disappointed. Anybody can throw up walls and decide nobody gets access anymore. That's actually the easiest thing in the world. What takes emotional intelligence is staying open while still being discerning. What takes self-respect is remaining kind without becoming a doormat. What takes real confidence is believing that even if someone disappoints you, you'll be okay. That's power. And honestly, I think a lot of girls accidentally confuse being guarded with being wise. They think expecting the worst makes them smart. They think being suspicious of everyone makes them emotionally mature. But psychology tells us something interesting. Human beings already have a negativity bias. Our brains naturally focus on threats more than opportunities. We're already wired to look for what's wrong, which means becoming colder isn't some sign of wisdom. It's often just the default setting. Remaining warm while still seeing reality clearly takes intention. That's the harder skill. That's the higher level. Personally, I love being a woman who is kind. I love being a woman who smiles first. I love complimenting people. I love making people feel comfortable. I love caring deeply about the people I love. None of those things make me easier to manipulate, because here's the part people forget. Kindness and discernment can exist in the same person. You can be sweet and impossible to fool. You can be compassionate and have standards. You can forgive someone and never allow them access to you again. You can understand exactly why someone hurt you and still decide they don't belong in your life. That's wisdom. The older I get, the more I realize that truly confident women aren't obsessed with looking powerful. They just are powerful. They don't spend every conversation trying to prove they're the smartest person in the room. They don't need to dominate. They don't need to intimidate. They don't need everyone to know they're unbothered. They have nothing to prove. And I think that's why confidence feels so calm. Insecurity is usually loud. Insecurity says, I need everybody to know I don't care. Confidence says, I don't need to announce it. Insecurity says, nobody can hurt me. Confidence says, some people probably will hurt me at some point and I'll survive it. That's a completely different energy. The strongest women I know aren't the ones pretending they don't feel anything. They're the ones who feel everything and remain grounded anyway. They love deeply. They care deeply. They show up fully. And when life disappoints them, they don't become cruel. They don't become bitter. They don't abandon themselves. They stay soft. And that's what makes them so powerful, because anybody can be hard. Not everybody can remain open-hearted after life gives them reasons not to be. So if you've been worried that being gentle makes you look foolish, I want you to remember this. People who mistake kindness for weakness usually reveal more about themselves than they do about you. A person who thinks softness equals stupidity is telling you how they move through the world. They're telling you they can't imagine strength existing without aggression. Meanwhile, you're over here proving otherwise. You're warm and observant, kind and self-respecting, loving and discerning, soft spoken when you want to be, firm when you need to be. Because softness isn't weakness. Softness is confidence without the performance. It's knowing exactly who you are without needing armor in every interaction. And to me, that is one of the most beautiful forms of self-respect a woman can have. You do not become smarter by becoming harder. You become smarter by becoming more aware. And once you're aware, once you understand people, understand patterns, understand yourself, you get to choose softness on purpose. Not because you're blind, not because you're naive, but because you're strong enough that you don't need hardness to protect your sense of self. And that kind of strength will always be more impressive than pretending not to care, love you no matter what.